You're 14, a princess in the glittering heart of the Persian Empire, where your father's word is divine law. The banquet hall thrums with laughter and wine, but suddenly, silence crashes like a wave. Your father, King Xerxes, the ruler of millions, has just sworn an unbreakable oath: he'll grant any wish. An old general, eyes gleaming with greed, rises and asks for you, your hand, your body, your future. The room holds its breath. Xerxes hesitates, his face paling, but pride wins. Granted, he mutters. Applause erupts, but you feel your world shatter. This isn't marriage, it's a sentence to hell. What follows is worse than death: 14 years of isolation, abuse, and a broken spirit. King Xerxes didn't kill his daughter, he erased her soul to save his ego. If the dark side of power chills you, stay for the full story of betrayal in the ancient world. Xerxes ruled an empire that dwarfed imagination, from the sands of Egypt to the rivers of India. 50 million souls bent to his will. He was no mere king, he was the king of kings, a god on earth. Herodotus, the Greek historian, drew from Persian exiles' tales, painting a court where whispers could topple dynasties. The palace of Persepolis was a marvel of marble and gold, but inside, it was a prison of protocol. Eunuchs guarded every door, ensuring no secret escaped. For royal women, life was a gilded cage. Daughters like Amestris, beautiful, educated in poetry and dance, were not heirs but assets. They married for alliances, their bodies traded like coins. Amestris, born to a concubine, stood out. Xerxes favored her, keeping her close unlike her sisters sent to far provinces. In this world of absolute power, affection was a double-edged sword. It protected her from distant fates but exposed her to the court's cruel games. Little did she know, one drunken night would turn her father's love into her nightmare. The banquet of 479 BC, fresh after defeats in Greece, simmered with tension. Xerxes, drowning in securities and wine, boasted to thousands, "Ask anything, it's yours." The hall was alive with nobles, musicians, and flickering torches. Xerxes, flushed with drink, stood tall, declaring his divine generosity. "By the gods, I'll grant any request," he proclaimed, feeding his image as an unassailable ruler. Guests murmured in awe, but Artabanus, a grizzled general over 60, saw opportunity. Widowed thrice, ambitious, and fading from favor, he craved royal ties. Rising slowly, he bowed. "Great king, give me your daughter Amestris." Gasps echoed. Royal princesses what equals, not aging subjects. Xerxes froze, his throne gripping like chains. Refusal meant weakness, especially post-Greece humiliations. Eyes darted, his queen wept silently, women understood the horror. Amestris, across the room, trembled, not grasping fully yet. Minutes stretched eternally. Finally, Xerxes whispered, "Granted." Cheers rose, but the king avoided her gaze. Artabanus smiled triumphantly. In private, Amestris begged her father, "Undo this, please." But Xerxes, torn between love and legacy, chose the latter. "It stabilizes the court," he rationalized. Politics masked his shame. 3 months later, the wedding unfolded in splendor, silks, jewels worth kingdoms. Amestris walked like a ghost, her beauty a cruel irony. The empire celebrated, she mourned her stolen life, the union was no fairy tale. Amestris, barely a teen, entered Artabanus's world, a domain of control and isolation. He forbade visits to her family, severing ties in a culture where sisterhood meant survival. Guards loyal to him watched her every move. The palace buzzed with whispers, the king sacrificed his own for pride. Amestris's days blurred into loneliness, her nights into dread. Despite his age, Artabanus demanded intimacy relentlessly, obsessed with siring a royal heir. Physicians prescribed herbs, rituals aimed at conception, not her well-being. She was a vessel, not a wife. Secret pleas to Xerxes went unanswered, his guilt silenced him. 3 years in, pregnancy came. Artabanus sacrificed lavishly, naming the unborn after the king. But for Amestris, it was terror, a child would chain her forever. Her pregnancy was marked by sorrow. She stared at forbidden gardens, refusing meals until forced. Labor lasted days, complications nearly fatal. The boy arrived weak, named Xerxes in homage. Palace records noted joy, but shadows whispered otherwise. 10 days later, the infant died, official cause, breathing failure. Rumors swirled, despair-driven acts by Amestris or pitying servants. Truth buried, but her suffering deepened. The baby's death ignited Artabanus's rage. Convinced of foul play, he turned tyrannical. Screams echoed from his quarters, bruises marred Amestris's skin. One beating left her bedridden, bones aching, spirit fracturing. Witnesses described her transformation. The vibrant girl became a hollow shell, speaking rarely, eating less. Xerxes heard reports, regret stirring. He issued quiet commands, treat her gently. But Artabanus, empowered by the marriage Xerxes himself approved, defied him. Custom gives me authority over my wife, he retorted, twisting the king's weakness. Xerxes retreated, unable to admit his error without crumbling his facade. Amestris endured in silence, her pleas fading. The court, a fortress of secrets, swallowed her pain. Years passed in this cycle: control, violence, despair. At 20, she seemed aged beyond years, gray streaking her hair. Half-brother Artaxerxes noticed from afar, but intervention risked chaos. Amestris's world shrank to her rooms, memories of freedom taunting her. One melody from her youth, played by musicians, shattered her composure. She destroyed instruments in a raw scream, collapsing in long-suppressed tears. This breakdown marked her irreversible decline. Power's cruelty wasn't blades but indifference. The kings, the generals, the empires stopped by 470 BC, court tensions boiled. Xerxes's rule, scarred by Greek losses, faced internal threats. Artabanus, once loyal, nursed grudges, sidelined, yet bound by marriage. He twisted Amestris's torment into fuel. See how the king discards even family, he whispered to allies. Factions formed, succession whispers grew. Amestris, isolated, knew nothing of the brewing storm. Her days were voids, staring walls, forced routines. Health waned, depression gripped her like chains. Xerxes, haunted, avoided her wing, focusing on Persepolis expansions to etch his legacy in stone. Inscriptions praised his conquests, omitting domestic horrors. Artabanus's influence swelled, the marriage elevated him dangerously. He plotted with conspirators, motivations layered, power, revenge, perhaps genuine outrage at Amestris's fate, hypocrisy at its peak. The coup struck in 465 BC, 14 years after the banquet. Assassins slipped into Xerxes's chambers, the king died in blood. Artabanus seized control, puppeteering briefly. Panic swept the palace. Amestris, hearing chaos, felt numb. Her tormentor's rise meant endless hell. But fate twisted again. Artaxerxes, Xerxes's son, rallied loyalists. 7 months of shadow rule ended in confrontation. Guards clashed, Artabanus fell, sword in hand. Justice, or irony, with Artabanus dead, Amestris emerged from shadows at 28. Artaxerxes, now king, offered restoration, private quarters, freedoms denied. But scars ran deep. She wandered gardens like a specter, avoiding eyes. Banquets invited, she refused, festivals passed unseen. Servants noted her silence, days, weeks without words. Her face, once radiant, was etched with pain, hair prematurely gray. Attempts to heal failed. Musicians evoked only anguish, shattering her fragile peace. Artaxerxes pondered interventions, but she withdrew further. The empire moved on, Persepolis inscriptions glorified new reigns, burying old sins. Amestris's story faded to whispers. She lived 8 more years, a ghost in luxury. Sources hint at self-imposed decline, meals skipped, vitality ebbing. By 457 BC, at 36, she died. Official, illness. Modern eyes see trauma's toll, depression, perhaps anorexia as control's last grasp. Her end wasn't sudden, it began that banquet night. Xerxes's word didn't kill her body immediately, but it murdered her essence. In Persian tradition, women like her were footnotes unnamed in records, valued in alliances. Yet her tragedy echoes, power's quiet violences outlast wars. Fragments in Herodotus preserve her, a warning from antiquity. Herodotus's accounts, from Persian defectors, sketch Amestris's ordeal amid broader tales. He highlights Persian excesses, oaths unbreakable, women as pawns. Ctesias, another Greek, adds fragments via later summaries, blurring names but echoing cruelty. Administrative tablets from Persepolis record payments, physicians, rituals, but no personal laments. Amestris blends with her mother, the queen known for vengeance, burying rivals alive, mutilating foes. History merges them, but the daughter's suffering stands distinct. Xerxes is remembered for Thermopylae, Salamis, defeats that humbled him, perhaps fueling his banquet bravado. His pride, post-Greece, demanded displays of strength. Yet the true weakness was personal, betraying kin. In Achaemenid culture, kings were divine, their word law. Daughters married strategically, but Amestris's case shocked even courtiers. Whispers of her fate fueled plots, showing how domestic rot erodes empires. Beyond Persia, parallels abound, Roman emperors trading daughters, medieval kings bartering princesses. Power's pattern, elevate, then destroy the vulnerable. Amestris's story, pieced from scraps, humanizes history's margins. Not battles, but betrayals define tyranny's cost. Her silence screams across millennia, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Starting at home, imagine 14 years caged, body claimed, spirit crushed. Amestris's trauma wasn't just physical, it was soul deep. Isolation severed bonds, breeding despair. Forced intimacies eroded self, the lost child amplified guilt, whether rumor or reality. Beatings left marks, but silence scarred worse. Xerxes's unanswered pleas, Artabanus's unchecked rage. Modern psychology sees PTSD, withdrawal, numbness, self-harm. In antiquity, no terms existed, she was broken. Court life amplified it, constant surveillance, no escape. Women whispered empathy, but fear silenced aid. Xerxes's rationalizations, politics over paternity, modeled indifference. Artabanus's hypocrisy, using her pain to justify regicide. Post-freedom, reintegration failed, triggers like music reopen wounds. Her decline, a slow suicide, control reclaimed through starvation. Age 36 was young, trauma aged her prematurely. History often glorifies rulers, ignoring victims. Amestris represents countless unnamed daughters, wives sacrificed to ego. In Persian harems, autonomy was myth, beauty a curse. Her story critiques patriarchy, women as currency, their suffering collateral. Yet resilience glimmers, she endured, her fragments surviving. A testament, even erased voices echo, demanding we confront power's hidden horrors. Xerxes's decision ripples universally, one impulsive act destroys lives. He built Persepolis to immortalize glory, but his legacy includes this shadow. Pride blinded him, refusal would have shown strength, but ego demanded compliance. Artabanus exploited it, his ambition masking sadism. The coup's irony, her suffering justified his treason, yet he caused it. Artaxerxes' mercy came late, restoration couldn't mend the irreparable. This tale warns leaders, unchecked power invites downfall. Families suffer first, betrayals intimate, wounds lasting. In empires, courts breed sycophants, isolating rulers from truth. Amestris's anonymity in records highlights erasure, women's stories sidelined. Greek sources, biased yet vital, preserve her, Herodotus critiquing barbarian excess. But Persians had nuances, women like Atassa influenced, yet daughters remained vulnerable. Today, echoes in abusive dynamics, forced marriages. Her story urges empathy, see the human behind the throne. If power corrupts, accountability saves. Xerxes didn't revisit his choice, we must, learning from history's whispers. Amestris didn't die in 457, she lives in lessons, reminding that the greatest tyrannies are quiet, personal, and preventable. Her tragedy, a mirror for all eras. If Amestris' fate unsettles, it's meant to. History's grim corners reveal truths, power's allure hides rot. Subscribe for more Empire's underbellies, monarchs' secrets. Comment Amestris if you journeyed through. Suggest next, Cleopatra's betrayals or Nero's madness? Her story, pieced from Herodotus, tablets, echoes, isn't just Persian, it's human. Fathers failing daughters, pride over love. Xerxes challenged Greece, built wonders, but his worst act was domestic. Worse than death, living erased. Artabanus's end brought no closure, trauma lingered. Artaxerxes ruled long, but family scars persisted. In 2,500 years, her fragments endure, a caution. Absolute power doesn't destroy enemies, it crushes the close. Reflect, in our world, who wields unchecked authority? Families, leaders, systems. Amestris teaches vigilance. Her silence demands we listen to the voiceless. This isn't legend, it's reconstructed reality, dark yet illuminating. Walk away wiser, betrayal's cost outlives empires. If moved, share, let her story spread. Grim history isn't entertainment, it's enlightenment. Until next, ponder, what oaths have you sworn lightly? Their echoes might surprise.